Welcome to today's session. My name's Debbie McCone. Today we're going to make two lovely recipes, a fruity chicken curry and a homemade naan bread. Before we start though, a few things. Make sure you wash your hands before you start cooking and during cooking, particularly when you're touching raw meat. Also, knife safety. Make sure when you've used a knife, you wash it, dry it, put it away. Never leave the knife in the sink because somebody else could put their hand in, they could cut themselves, so be very careful with that. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll get ready to start the recipe. So we're going to go through the ingredients we're going to use today. So for our chicken curry, we've got 500 grams of diced chicken breast. I've actually diced that in advance. We've got a green pepper, diced onion, sultanas, 250 millilitres of chicken stock, curry powder and mango chutney. And we'll also add a little bit of flour to thicken up at the end if we need to. But the first thing we're going to make is the naan bread. So for the naan bread, we've got 225 grams of plain flour. We've got 2 teaspoons of caster sugar and half a teaspoon of baking powder. And in this lovely little milk jug here, we've got 125 millilitres of milk. We're also going to use some sunflower oil as well. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get the naan bread ready, because we have to leave the naan bread for about 15 minutes under a damp tea towel before we start to prepare it. So the first thing we'll do is start the naan bread. But before that, I'm going to put the chicken back in the fridge so we're going to use it again. So I'm going to put the flour through a sieve. To say it's plain flour, 225 grams of plain flour. This should get rid of any little lumps that are in it. This is good if you're doing with the children. This is something good fun for them to do. Maybe a little bit messy, but the end result is worth it. So put all the wet dry ingredients together first, and we're going to add the wet ingredients. So there's our flour. Now we're going to add our 2 teaspoons of caster sugar and half a teaspoon of the baking powder. So we'll sieve that in as well. So there we go. So we've got our dry ingredients there. We're now going to add our wet ingredients. So here's the milk, that's going to go in. And the oil. So 2 tablespoons. We're going to use some sunflower oil. So a tablespoon is 2 dessert spoons. So we need 4 of these. So again, if you're doing this with the family, it's good for them to have a little count it in. Lid on that. So I'm going to give that a little mix with the fork first. A little bit messy, as I did say earlier, so I did warn you on that one. So now, this is where you get your hands in. I'm going to mix this together. Have a look at that. So what we're going to do is bring all the dough from the sides. The mixer goes into a big bowl. Try and keep one hand clean, so you've got one hand that's in the bowl and one hand that's clean. You might think it's not going to come together, but it actually does. Okay, so now we've got that into a nice consistency. So that's about 6 minutes doing that, just to put it up, bring it all together. So what we do now is we're going to put it back into the bowl with a damp tea towel over and leave for about 15 minutes. So that will give us time to get the curry ready then. Okay, so that's what we're going to do now. Pop that in there. Try and keep it somewhere warm in the kitchen. I'm just going to pop it behind here. And then we'll start making the chicken curry. Right, we're going to make the fruity chicken curry. We've got 500 grams of chicken diced here, quite small. I've done the onion. I'm just going to chop the pepper up now. I'm going to dice it. The pepper adds a nice little crunch to it, but also some extra veggies as well. So I've already washed this and took away most of the seeds. A couple of hanging around still there. Get rid of that. It's quite chunky. Pop it back in the bowl. And again, when you're preparing stuff, it is really good to use the bowl, because when you go over to start cooking, you've got everything to hand. You could use a red pepper, yellow, orange, depending, but the one I bought today was a green one. There we go. A few more little bits to chop up. That's our main ingredients ready now, our chicken, our onion and our pepper. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to cook the pepper and the onion, then we're going to add the chicken. So we're going to walk across now with our spray oil to the stove. Okay, so we'll spray some oil into the pan. So again, this is healthier. We are going to use oil in the naan bread, but this is just for this. I'm just going to pop this on. Give that a couple of minutes just to heat up. So the first thing that's going to go in is the onion, then our pepper and the chicken. Now with the chicken we need to make sure the chicken's cooked all the way through before we start adding anything. So I'm going to just start with the onion. And then the pepper. Good stir. Remember when you use the pan as well to always hold the handle. So as you can see, the veg is actually quite chunky, so it will hold once we've added the liquid to it. So do this for about 5 minutes till it softens, and then we're going to add the chicken. I'm going to add the chicken now. And obviously you want to make sure this chicken's cooked all the way through. Keep stirring it gently around the pan. And what we want the chicken to do is to go white, so we know it's starting to cook. And then what we do is we then start to add the liquid to it. Right, we're going to add our curry powder. I'm using a mild curry powder today, but you could obviously use whatever you want, taste-wise. So if you have a little look at this, we're going to mix that through. See the colour's starting to change now, that lovely curry colour. It's all the way through. This is going to thicken it as well, but also, if it needs to be a bit thicker at the end, we've got some corn flour which we'll add. Now, once that's mixed in, we're going to add our chicken stock. See now what a lovely colour that is. Now we've got a couple of tablespoons of mango chutney, so that's going to give its nice fruity flavour. Mix that thoroughly. Then 50 grams of sultanas. So what we'll do now is we're going to put this on a low heat to make sure it cooks all the way through. We're going to carry on making the naan bread. So we've got our naan bread here. That's looking good, isn't it? So what we're going to do is we're going to chop that now into 4. I'm going to make 4 lovely naan breads. So put that safely there. A little tiny bit of flour. You can do this by hand or just use a little rolling pin. Ooh, it's quite sticky on there. A little bit of flour on the rolling pin. These are like little mini naan breads. we've got there. And what we do that again with the other 3 that we've got here, and that makes our 4 naan breads. And then we're going to cook them in some oil in the frying pan. Okay, so we've got our 4 naan breads. First one's gone in now, some hot oil. So I want to make this light and brown. What we'll do as well is, because we're cooking the 4, it's only quite a small pan, we'll pop them in the oven to keep hot once we've actually made them. So once that starts to cook, I'm going to turn it over. Now if you wanted with the naan bread also, you could maybe add some little seeds to it as well, some garlic, some coriander. So this is just the plain naan bread that we've made, but when you get the recipe you can add things to it. Now we use spray oil in the curry, but we've actually used some nice sunflower oil in this, just to give that little bit of extra flavour. See, now it's going to start to go brown. And see as well also it's started to rise a little bit. So what we do then is we do the rest exactly the same as this, and we pop them in the oven. You look here now, we're getting a nice bit of colour on it. So we've now got a tablespoon of corn flour, which we've mixed with some cold water. Pop that in. That's go inside. I'm going to mix that up, thicken that up lovely. So it's a nice thick curry. Doesn't that look absolutely delicious? Right, so we're going to take it over now to put in the serving dish. A lot of smoke today. Just move that over there. So, if you can see me, we have our lovely chicken curry, fruity chicken curry, and our homemade naan bread. So go through the ingredients again. So in the curry, we've got 500 grams of diced chicken breast, 1 green pepper, 1 onion. We've got some mango chutney, curry powder, and we thickened it up with a little bit of corn flour and some sultanas. If you didn't want to use sultanas, you could maybe use some dried apricots, or even maybe dried mango to give it that flavour. And our beautiful naan bread, which was our plain flour, 225 grams of plain flour, half a teaspoon of baking powder, 2 teaspoons of sugar, 125 millilitres of milk, and 2 tablespoons of sunflower oil. So that's a lovely combination. Now to serve it, you could use rice, brown rice, basmati rice. Jacket potato is a nice idea. If you like couscous, try couscous. But to be honest, with the bread and the curry, that's actually quite a nice meal in itself anyway. Just try it that way. All in all, per head, that probably doesn't come to more than about £1.50 per person. So if you think about ready meals or takeaway meals, that's a really cheap way to do it. It's about £1.50 a head per person. So I do hope you can try the recipe at home, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.